everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my new friend, Sherry Fernandez. Hi, Sherry. How are you?
I'm good, Kathy. How are you?
Great, great. So Sherry is here because she wrote a unbelievably wonderful, powerful, and useful book called Life Mastery: Personal Progression Towards an Infinite Potential. So, wow, Sherry, where do you want to start with this? I mean, basically, your story is how this is a personal transformation story as well as a universal one. Do you want to start with your journey towards it for us?
Yeah, I think I do, because I'd like people to know, I guess, where I was coming from and what's possible. But I did have a kind of a tumultuous childhood, and that's in the book. But
Right.
that was not really. I mean, it helped set me up, obviously, and you can read about that in the book, or we can talk about it more later. But the part I want to share is I had wasted. I partied away. Let's be honest, it was the era of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and I, was involved in all of that. And then what actually happened was I was pretty wild girl. I mean, late teens, early 20s, and I had a baby, but I got serious, a little more serious about life, but not too serious. And then I met somebody, and I said, okay, things have got to change, and we got married. And it was great. And I love him. He's awesome. But he'd done the same thing, right? We had nothing. I say we had nothing. We just had nothing. And almost immediately I was pregnant again. So now we have these two little girls, and when I say, and a lot of people say we were poor when we first got married, but no, we were like, how in the world are we going to actually even put food on the table? Ken was working, and I was home with the girls, but doing daycare, and he was working 2 jobs, and we were just struggling. And I thought, but I wanted things, not just like things like a whole bunch of material things. I just wanted all the best parts of life. I had not intended to get married growing up or have children, but now here I was. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the best marriage possible. And I do. And then I wanted to travel, and I didn't want a ceiling on my income. And I wanted to be able to have children, which I have 6 of, weirdly enough. It all came out of my body. But I wanted to have a good figure and be sexy, and what woman doesn't want to be sexy? And I thought it was possible. I wanted to be educated, and I'd missed my education, and I've got a pretty high IQ and pretty smart. And I thought I'd wasted my opportunity for education. I wanted it all. But where do you go when you have nothing and you want everything? And so I started reading. The first book I read was See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar. Okay. And obviously we were busy, so I couldn't just do it constantly, but I would read as much as I could, or we'd listen. Ken and I both listened to audio programs, and it was a struggle for quite a while, but we applied the things that we were learning. I learned techniques to get the things I wanted. And Kathy, I don't sound, arrogant. I really got all those things, every one of those things that I wanted and more. I got by just careful application of certain universal principles. They aren't unique to me. They're principles that are very, when people, I tell them, they say, oh, that makes sense. They're very, right. You wouldn't, you know what they are. It's just it's a consistent application of those principles.
Right. That's the key, is the application, because you can read all the books, which, millions of people have read these amazing books, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the application of it and the determination of it, that's where life mastery, because you have to want to master it. It's not just superficial information.
And one of the, I love all these people. I mean, Jim Rohn had a huge effect on my life. He probably gave a little more help, but as much as I love all of them, most of them, they give you this, you get you motivated, but they don't tell you then what to do. And I needed somebody to say, do this, and you can have that, right? Work on this. And so I had to actually develop the how part myself to some degree. I mean, again, these are, Jim Rohn said there are no new fundamentals, right? If you'd be suspicious that somebody has new fundamentals, these aren't new practices, but I was able to find some things, work on them, refine them. And while it might be the most boring chapter in the book, is probably the most vital because it's the how, right?
Right.
We can get motivation in a lot of places, but where do you get the how? And
Right. Right.
you said earlier how much information is in my book. That's why, because I want people to go from motivation all the way through to the end, to the how.
Well, we want to talk, or I'd love for you to talk about the why, because that is it. Simon Sinek has a fantastic YouTube about you got to know your why, and then you also are saying that too. Is that may be part of the how? Is you have to have the why, right? Do you
Right,
want to talk
because
about that?
it's a ton of day-to-day work. If you don't have a pretty compelling why, and by the way, I'd like to plug Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why, especially for business, or especially apply it to your life, whatever. Start with why, and that's why I start with why.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to have a pretty compelling why. So I start with a big dreams list, because that's fun. And then we think about what we need to do, pay back. That's a why, to be a better person. So we have a mission to make the world a better place, to figure that out, and to build the kind of person we want to be. So I start with those three ideas of at least to get a good why going. I talked with a client this week, and he said, I'm spending too much time on Facebook. And I said, he has this big dreams list, right? And I just remind yourself that every time you're scrolling through Facebook and watching too many videos or whatever, just remind yourself that's not going to make your dreams come true, right? You've got all these big dreams. And so it gives him a why. Now he's like, oh, right. Now he's got a why to limit his social media time.
Right. So
example.
Again, about the why, do you find that the people, once you start working with them, okay, so I'll back up. A lot of this book processes came from you changing people's lives through your fit business. And you realized it, because I read, okay.
You did read it. I know. You can tell when somebody's read it or not, and you did read it. I can tell.
Oh, it's a great book. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to say is that the aspect of you kind of saw the lights come on in these people and then backtracked and figured out a way to share it in a way. So could you talk about your journey from your fit business to your coaching?
Yeah, there's definitely a direct link. Prior to opening the Fitmania, which had a two-part business. It was fitness and what we called Fit Life, which was personal development. Because I'd already been speaking and teaching these principles in different, a lot of motivational speaking, relationship speaking. I was getting a lot of opportunities to do that because as people realized I knew something, they was being invited to speak. And then I found the answer. This sounds like so corny, but they really did. The answer to the struggle people have with weight and fitness. I've been working on it all my whole life. And when I saw the answer, I'm like, well, that's so obvious. I need to teach people. So I took those two things and built Fitmania. But as I watched, and then I needed to teach those people these principles. So I refined it as I was teaching, and I was coaching there too and doing fitness. But what I watched was when people started moving forward in their fitness, and our program was very, very, very effective. When we started moving, they started moving forward. They were so excited. They wanted to be like, what's next? What else can I do? A lot of them work towards debt, paying off bills. We offered some classes on finances. We would offer that part of our Fit Life thing. And then this is the best story. I had this one woman that just loved her to death. She helped me get Fitmania off the ground and just volunteered a ton of help. But she said, I'm not interested in spiritual things. That just doesn't interest me. And because I have this whole well-rounded thing, right? If you're going to do this, you need to do all these things. And I'm like, right. Hey, no problem. Maybe you can just like meditate or do something. Anyway, she's like, yeah. It was about 6 months later, maybe she's in my office. She said, I'm ready. I want to do something to build my spirit. I mean, she didn't want to sign up for church. She just wanted to develop that part of her. And I thought that's such a classic example of what happens when you start moving forward, especially in the physical part. Then you start thinking, what else can I do? You want more, right? And it's kind of addictive. We were talking about that in our meetings this week, is how addictive it is once you start making progress. You're just like, what else can I do?
Right. Well, we are all spirit. Everything is spiritual and conscious, and this is a great book for conscious leaders for them to see what aspect of their life that they're missing, they're out of alignment, out of balance in. And
Right. There's an assessment in there, and you can get also on the website. There's an assessment there that can help you evaluate that too.
right. I mean, your website's great. So okay, so you're running a fitness business, and it morphs into fitness and life, and I'm sure that combination had to be really unique. How long did you do that?
I've been saying 9 years. I was thinking back the other day, maybe it was 8 years. Well, it was either 8 or 9 years that we did that. I had to build a team before I could do all the things I wanted to do. I couldn't do fitness and fit life and all of that, and then work one-on-one with people. I mean, it was just too much. So
Right.
as I was able to build a team of people, we just grew, and we had 3 locations, and it was really a marvelous program. I just kind of had enough one day.
Well, yeah.
To one of the guys I was working with, I said, "Here, you can have it. I'm out of here."
Well, the thing is that again, if you've already fulfilled your why, then there was the next thing, right?
No,
The next
yeah,
level.
there was the next thing. I didn't know it was going to be a book. I never dreamed I would write a book.
Really?
No, never. People would say that when I would speak different places. They'd say, "You should write a book," and I'd be like, "Yeah, no, I'm a speaker, not a writer." And turns out I can write decently enough to get a book
Yes,
out.
of course. And what happens is that you had great examples of other writers that inspired you also, so that you could use that. I mean, when you're an avid reader like you are, and and implementer, then you're like a content collator, where you bring the best of all of them, so the other people don't have to read 100 books.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because that's exactly how I feel. It's like I took all of this time I read, and most books you only get maybe 1 good idea out of it, right? Or maybe 2 if you're lucky, maybe 3 or 4 if you're really, really lucky. So I feel like I did exactly what you said. I just gathered all this up. Every book on that list I have read at least once, and more, of course.
So the list that she's referring to, you guys, is there's a suggested reading list on Sherry's website, and I'll show you her website address here. I want to make sure they understand what we're talking about. Her website is lifemasteryinfo.com, and you can easily get a suggested reading list. And I actually went down the list, and I read a bunch of them.
I bet most people listening to this have probably read or at least heard of a good share of them.
Well, what's happening is we're in this huge time of change. And part of the reason I did Conscious Business Zone is I wanted my friends, basically, I consider all the people that listen friends, I wanted them to have resources to deal with this huge change. Because if you don't have a centering in yourself, you're like a balloon being batted in the wind. And because who knows what's going to happen next? I mean, it's one of those times where your fortitude and your strength of will and your character and your virtues, basically your values, are your compass.
Yeah, and they're being challenged constantly, right? And there's a lot of two sides of the same coin in social media and media generally. Great. We wouldn't be able to have this conversation.
Right.
On the other hand, there's a lot of false, bad advice. And I've come across 25-year-olds who are doing life coaching. I'm like, well, you should go live a little bit first. You know, at 25, right? Or people are following these Instagram people, and they feel, I think, what do they really know? What's their life really like, you know? And you're taking advice from this person. So there's 2 sides of that social media coin. And if we're not careful, I said in the book, somebody giving you bad advice is probably not going to ruin your life, but it could, I guess. But it is going to waste your time. And so there's a lot of time being wasted on peripheral things that don't really matter.
I feel like there's so many different types of humans here. I mean, I'm going to get woo-woo a little bit, but
Thank goodness.
because that's who I am. But I think that, I mean, there's a lot of hybrids. There's a lot of different types of humans here, so that all these different coaches, even if they're only 25, they're not going to have the same experience of knowing what works or doesn't work. But the fact is that they may have their tribe that they're supposed to guide. They may have come in to do that. So it's sort of hard. The thing is they need your book.
They do. And, motivation's a lot of it. Like, if your motivation is to get a whole bunch of likes and, it doesn't matter, or your motivation is to be popular, which is that's kind of almost intrinsic in us in our 20s, that it's important that people like us. If we're looking for that, you can't really affect other people's lives if you're thinking about you. It has to be an outward focus,
It's
right?
service.
And that's something that for most of us, we have to work on. And
well, how do you, okay, so there's lots of questions I've got because this time is really about trust. This time of change is about trust. And as I said before, I feel that trust comes from an inner work, from, having your own compass. But how do you see this time period of people being able to live a happy life? I mean, joy is the key, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah, and then that's the book is based on the idea that personal progression is the key to happiness, and it is. When we're moving forward, we're happy. When we're stagnant, we're never stagnant. Really, we're slipping. But when we're slipping, we're not happy. And that's simple. This is an awesome time to live, don't you think? I mean, yes. We have so much opportunities. There have been generations past where you just worked like a dog to put food on the table every day your whole life until you died. We have so much opportunity, but we also have a lot of opportunity to waste our time. So I just think it's a marvelous time to be alive and we have the freedom and opportunity, but it will take discipline to get something out of it, to make the best use of it. It's also easy to waste your time sitting watching Netflix, for the rest of your too.
Well,
you can waste the opportunity.
And that's garbage in, garbage out too. Yeah. That's what I mean. When someone will make fun of me, what I watch, I listen to a lot of frequency tracks and stuff underneath while I'm working. I'll have brain entrainment work and focus and all sorts of stuff. And somebody will make fun of me, and it's like, well, I'm not wasting my time listening to drama. Other people, so there. But
that's a really good point. I like that.
Well, no, I think really the truth is this period of time since last March, what we've been gifted was a chance to slow down and really look at what's important. And so this is a great opportunity for people that are brave enough to change, to get a book like this or work with Sherry and find a way to really get to the core of what their gifts are and what they came here to expand. That's up until then, everybody's in their phone. I mean, the new normal isn't hopefully the old normal.
Right. Yeah, I see a split. Like I have, just as a type, not as a main point. I have seen people in my world who spent the shutdown time getting fit. I mean, I've seen a few people, one couple in particular I'm thinking of, they look awesome. I can't even believe it. They think they look 10 years younger and they're so just fit. They've just spent that time. But of course, a lot of people gain weight, right? You could get, if you were not working, you were shut down, you were home, whatever, you could literally get the equivalent of, and maybe even get a 4-year degree in that time that we've been shut down. Or you could sit around and twiddle your thumbs, watch the news, and wait for the world to open back up. I wouldn't have written the book if it hadn't been for COVID, because I'd be doing more workshops and teaching and things. I didn't have those, so I had the time to write the book. So you have options, but again, it takes more discipline and some good habits, because that Netflix and the news and the not doing anything is just it's a downward pull.
Right. And the downward pull is also staying in fear. I think there's a fear virus that some people can't break away from. So how, if someone wants to work with you, how do you first do an assessment to see where they are in their in their balance. And then what do you do?
I don't take everybody. In fact, I don't take a lot of people. I evaluate and make sure it's a good fit for me and them. Now, we have mentors that are working on teaching the Life Mastery program. We're training those now, and they're getting ready to go. So they'll be a little more. There'll be more opportunities for more people. But for me personally, and they'll have to have a better system for them. But for me personally,
I understand.
I talk to the person. I need to have a conversation because I want to work with people who are already doing things and they want to do better and more. I want to work with people who don't loop the same sad stories over and over again. I want to work with people who are ready to go and make a difference in their lives. And so I work with people who are, they can be any age and they can be any place in life. They just have to want more and be willing to go to work. And I hate working with somebody week after week. They haven't done anything right. Then we usually have to part ways.
Well, we publish books too, and you used to go to Christmas parties and somebody would be talking about that book they're going to write for like 5 years in a row. And it's like, okay, I don't know what you're afraid of. But because if it's not successful, just no one knows about it. And then you can try again. It's not like you're branded with failure forever. That's it. How do you find that? I mean, the people that you're talking about that you work with are pretty competent. They're already high functioning, and they want to, sharpen the saw, as Covey would say. So they want to go to the next level. And how do you hold them accountable? Because accountability seems to be the thing that I need.
Yeah. I teach the skills, how to use, I've got some tools that I teach and then I check back with them. But yeah, the accountability, especially once they've learned the skills that I'm teaching them, the accountability is why they stay. Like I had a gal a while back, I had her for maybe close to a year and she moved. I think she'd still be coming. I've got another guy I'm working with who now works with me, does my technology and stuff, but he's been working with me for about 15 months. It's the accountability that they stay for. And be able to talk. It's hard to find people who are talking about things at that level. Sometimes they just need to talk about what they're learning and what they're struggling with. Somebody to just, because those kind of people are hard to find, right? A lot of them are watching Netflix or whatever. So that's what keeps them there. But the skills about accountability, it's all really about keeping yourself accountability. You're not going to be able to have an accountability partner forever. So number one thing I teach is tracking. Peter Drucker said if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get managed. So I teach them how to track. People fall in love with that. And that's how you track what you do mostly. Like, did I read today? Did I work out today? Did I drink enough water today? Some foundation. And weirdly enough, those daily habits is what leads to the big dreams, right? You do these things consistently and you can build on those and they get you to these big dreams, whatever it is. I'm going to climb Mount Fuji or whatever. One day is my big dream. Those things are going to get you there. So I teach that, but that everything doesn't fit into tracking. You can't track everything. I have a tracking sheet on the website too. You can download that.
Right.
And I teach them how. There's a certain way you do that. And it's in the book. And I don't want to get to the details, but you have to do it a certain way to make it effective. So that's one skill that I teach. And that's the first skill that I teach. And we work on that for quite a while. Then I teach some other things, how to use affirmations. I have a system for affirmations that's super effective, more than just saying affirmations. It's super effective, and it's daily written affirmations. I teach that skill for things you want to be. I want to be a better listener. My tracking sheet goes, I want to work out. On my affirmations might be, I am kind. I'm a listener. I am joyful. I am confident. Things that you want to be but are struggling with. How do I put that? I don't believe in SMART goals, by the way. You have to have the SMART goal set up for action steps to get on your tracking sheet. But many of our best goals can't be measured. You just have to do action steps that are measurable.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So something like an affirmation is how you might apply that so that you don't have to make it measurable.
So when you're working with somebody, you'll meet with them once a week and they'll have told you at the end of the conversation what they're going to do. And then you are able to meet later the next week and ask them if they did it,
Yeah.
or they show up and go, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's just how it goes. Sometimes it's, well, I always ask for victories first. What are your victories? And what were the struggles? How's the tracking sheet going? And find out if they're ready for a new skill or to apply a new goal. But my job's not to tell them what to work on. My job is to find out what they want to do and then
Yeah.
help them break it down into little pieces, daily disciplines to get them where they want to go.
Well, so when you work with people, are you seeing and again, I'm seeing everything changing faster. I'm seeing people like a light bulb goes on and they get it faster. It's almost like their soul purpose is more available to them. And once they can get quiet, that they actually, just by doing the process with you, the first awareness would cause them to work faster. Are you finding that? Are you
I
finding
have
things are
not thought
happening
of that,
faster?
Kathy, but that is actually really true. I marvel, like I do all my appointments on Monday, and because I've got a lot of fun to have the rest of the week, uh, I always end up after the end of every Monday just being, I can't even tell you how overwhelmed I am with amazement at what people can accomplish and how they grasp the principles. I'm thinking, oh, I wish I would have been that fast, right? I can't even tell you how just impressed I am with the things people are able to do once they understand. Once you give them something, they just grow in leaps and bounds. It's just amazing.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's
And
really
so,
amazing.
are you seeing like people creating like superpowers once they get, because what you're talking about again, it's not just accountability, it's alignment. There's something that they're out of aligned with who they really are, their authentic self, and then these tools that you're using allow them to get back compass to the right point, right?
Yeah, that's true. In fact, you saying that, I'll tell you what happens almost every time is they do the assessment, and when they bring it, they'll often do it before they come or after the first, but usually I have them do it before they come in. And you plot it on a wheel, right? So you have all the different areas, and then they'll see these flat places on their wheel, and when you
Right.
talk, it makes a really good visual. But they will say, "Well, I'm really surprised that my scored so low on," it's usually one of these two things, relationships or spirituality, because they think, but I really love my family so much, and I really thought I would have rated high on that. Or I really feel like I really have a close relationship with God, or whatever it looks for them. But I rated really low. Well, that's because they're basing it's based on their feelings rather than what they're concretely doing. One
Right.
day that relationship ends up in trouble because yes, they love their spouse like crazy, but they're not doing anything to keep it growing. So one day they wake up and things aren't so good, right? So that's usually the first wake up call. And I think that's what you're talking about, your authentic self, or you're not in alignment. And they know that. They know there's some habits they should be having, and they know that, but they don't realize the impact of them not having those habits is having on the thing that they love or they value. Does that make sense? And I
Yes.
had the conversation almost every first session, almost with everybody.
Well, this is where again, it's back to joy, right? I mean, when you look at your book, I mean, it's about, this isn't just about doing stuff and achieving stuff. It's about happiness,
Yeah.
and
So the
that's
bottom line about happiness, yeah.
yeah. So do you have any stories that you could share with us about people getting happy, or their journey to happiness?
Um, yeah, I have one that I'll share because I know that he doesn't mind if I share this story. But I have this, my friend, he's been working with me now on my technology that I've had with a long time. But he came in, everybody likes him. He is the most likable person, just likable. Young guys, maybe later 20s. It looks like he's got the world on fire. He little by little, he realized how much of it was a facade. And I got to watch the real man
Oh,
emerge from the the bluster kind of and the outward focus, which we all loved. That's why he attracts people. But I watched that fall. You talked about authentic. I watched his authentic self come up.
Beautiful.
And it's been a journey, and there's been some struggles for him to face some of these things. But
Yeah.
been so like it makes me emotional thinking about as I look at him. He's like he's matured and he's become this man, and he's happier with himself. More at peace with himself. So that was a really good story. I tell another little quick story. I just wanted to kind of back up a little bit. I debated on telling you this, but again, I don't think that she'll mind. But I have a client who, one of the things that she'd had that she never really shared much was that she wanted to do this certain fitness thing. I'm not going to tell you what that is because I don't want to share too much of her story. But she's in her later 30s, mid 30s, a little over 30, 37 or something like that. And I said, okay, when do you want to do this? She said, maybe when I'm 40 or 41. I said, okay, well, what's going to change between now and then? So why don't we just find a trainer to help you do this thing this week? And so now we're on track to do it maybe in the next year, within the next year, right? So that was kind of fun. Just see somebody, see what they were doing. I'll do that in 5 years. No reason to wait and to do it right now. So that was kind of a fun thing. That's one of the fun things that happen is people have these ideas that somewhere in the future, this thing is going to happen. And then now all of a sudden they're making it happen right now. And now she's excited, right? It's exciting.
Yeah. With that energy,
this week.
that energy will help it all come in. I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is why I keep bringing up joy, is I really think that's part of the missing formula for success. Because as soon as you get your why and then you have a how to do it, then it's like rocket fuel. There's not anything holding you back. And then if you have an accountability partner to help you validate if you need that or guide a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You said it earlier. If you're out of balance, then you're not having the joy. And that is really the truth. If you're doing things and you're not finding joy in them, well, let's figure out where you're off. And that can happen to even any, I mean, that just happened to me recently. I'm like, I was doing these interviews actually. I was thinking, oh, I was feeling stressful. And I think, what's the big deal? This is fun, and I had to dial it back and get a perspective. So sometimes it's simply that, but usually it's because something's out of balance. Too much, I'm doing the wrong things, or I'm doing too little of the right things. Something's out of balance. Because when we do hard things, it should bring us satisfaction and joy.
Right.
We're growing. And
right.
if it's not joyful, if life is, and really, we only have this one life, let's make it joyful.
Right.
Something's out of whack. Let's fix it. I hate the story of the guy, you've heard this so many times. I hate my job. In 10 years, I can retire. 10 years. I don't want to do something for 10 years so I can have a good retirement. That's horrible. I hate that way of living. I can't even imagine living like that.
Right. Well, yeah, I understand because you and I both own our own business and always have seen life that way. I mean, I am employable, sort of. But,
sort of.
but do you know what I mean? I mean, the idea is the constant creativity and everything expanding. Every idea. This book turns into a program, turns into this, turns into each person I work with. I learn something new and I could add something else. I can make a calendar. I can make a workshop. I can make a journal. Everything turns into this expansion of how do I better serve? And that's what I think this could be the pivot tool that somebody could use that without having to read 100 self-help personal development books. And it, because it includes all those aspects of yourself, you have the opportunity to really go deep.
Yeah. And I like what you said about the opportunity to serve at the end of the day, it's what difference we make in the world.
Right.
But I firmly, with all my heart and soul, believe that the best thing you can do for the world is be the best version of yourself you can be. That's how you can make the world a better place. You can go do protests and marches and write to your congressman and complain about world events. You want to make a difference, be the best you can be, and then you're in a position to lead other people. If you've got money, you can make a difference. If you're a person of respect and leadership, you can make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Being who you can be is your number one thing. You're better. So many of my moms are like, yeah, but my kids, I want to do this for my kids. You best thing you can do for your kids is be the best you can be. And then they
Right.
can watch you do it. And then they'll know how to do it. Right.
Right. I have a question for you about something that happens with me. I do marketing, but I also do a lot of coaching with it. And what do you do if someone keeps stopping themselves?
Like sabotaging themselves like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like promising to like you're holding them accountable, but you can't get them to do it. Or they might not show up. They might forget the meeting, or they never bring their homework.
Yeah, I wouldn't keep working with that person. First of all, we talk about it. Why is this happening? Like, what is it that makes you want to? I tell you a good story. It's in the book, but we did these fitness challenges and we gave big prizes, cruises, money, and people made 90 days and people could completely, and this is not some gimmicky go on a diet thing. This was eating lots of food, working out hard, just eating the right food. And they would just make huge changes. And we'd see somebody, it's happened so many times, I can't tell you. Almost every challenge, at least one person, they'd be like, oh, this person's going to win. Look at what they're doing. And they would just be, they'd be rocking it. Like we couldn't even believe the transformation. And about 3 weeks before the end, they'd quit. I don't understand that mentality. I do and I don't. So if I've got a client who's doing what you're saying, they're not showing up and stuff, we talk about why.
Right.
Are you afraid? So let's talk about it. And if they can have a breakthrough that way, okay, then we can, and maybe we'll go back and say, okay, maybe I've given you too much to do. Let's just do this one thing. You're on time and you never miss an appointment. You miss an appointment with me, Ma, you're done.
Oh, okay.
You miss an appointment without telling me, I'm done. Unless there's some really, if they just forgot, now I'm not doing that. But so maybe you'll be on time. You're going to be on time for our appointment and you're going to do this other thing, whatever it is. Just these two things until next week. So I'll dial it back. So I'm not expecting so much. But if it continues to happen, I'm not working with that person. I have not really had that happen to any major degree.
I've been doing this for 21 years, and this is the first year I've ever had anyone do it. And
I'm sorry, but you don't need everybody, and they don't. You're not a good fit for everybody. Maybe they're not the person for them. Maybe they just need something else, or maybe they'll never change. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you can't want it more than they want it.
You can't want it. It's really well put. You can't want it. And I've told them that before. I can't want for you more than you want for yourself. Not your children, not your husband, not your clients, nobody. You can't, if you care more than they care, it's not going to work.
Yeah. So with your book and your processes, what do you see for people that are going through these big changes now? Do you see that there'll be opportunities to take classes? And I mean, we talked about Stephen Covey. He ended up creating this huge, highly visible wave of energy where his work was brought into corporations. I mean, as well as it was the business book of the year, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Is that what you're seeing that you want with Life Mastery, or how do you see the future?
I've worked hard to design a certain kind of lifestyle. And while what I see I think the book will do well. It's doing well so far. And it's done really well so far. I want to speak and continue to speak and do workshops, but I'm not going to go back to those younger days when I worked so hard, right? So I'm still available and I do those. It's fun. I do them as long as it's still fun. I still take a few clients. What I did see though was an opportunity because of my fitness business, and we did personal development. I had a number of people who became trainers there, who've now come back and are interested in teaching. They've been ex-clients and worked with me closely. We've got a number of them that they would like to teach this Life Mastery skills. They'd like to be mentors themselves. So what I'm seeing, and I just love this, I want them to build just the most awesome business out of it. If they can take what I've done and build a huge, this will be separate from me and my book and my speaking, but if they can build something, they've got my full support. They can make $1 million doing it. Wonderful. That's what I see. That would jazz me up, is seeing them be hugely excited. They're awesome people. They know their stuff. And I would be so pleased if they all just had so much fun and got rich and had made a difference in the world. That's what would get me excited. I think
That's
what I'm doing will go forward no matter what. But I'd like to see them be successful. And they are good. And they do know. I mean, they've been well trained by me.
well.
So
I would
they
say
know their
that
stuff.
that's fantastic because then you have an army of people. It's not
Right.
just you, and each one of them has their own experience, life experience they're going to bring. So one person might be a chiropractor, the other one might be a nutritionist, the other might be, so they're going to have their own extra perspective that they can add to it that'll make it enrich it, which it enables you to learn too. I mean, you're being exposed by their strengths as
Yeah,
well.
they teach me stuff all the time, and the world doesn't need any more of me. They're not a big bunch of mini me's. They'll be their own. They're just unique and beautiful people who'll bring their own aspect to this. You know, they'll teach the principles faithfully. They'll teach the skills, of course, because they work and it's what they know. You're right. They'll do it their own way, and there'll be different fits for different people, which I really like that. I told you that I'm not a fit for everybody. But one of these people will be a fit for everybody. I think.
Right. Well, and I think the benefit is that we are in a time of choosing. I mean, again, this time where there's so much going on, it's chaos. It's this information. We're just being, and a lot of it's fearful. A lot of it is you almost want to just shut off the news, and which I do.
I
Um,
do also.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and see what makes your heart sing. What sounds like it would be fun. What would help you and your family. Because I mean that's what it's really coming down to is what's important.
It is, and I think that's what a lot of these people who are doing the mentorings do. They're saying that's what they're doing. They're saying this is a chance for me to do something that I believe in, to share what I've learned, and to touch other people's lives. I wouldn't be involved with them if they were just trying to blow their own horn, so to speak, or get attention or talk about themselves. These are people who really, really want to make a difference, and there's just a few in my world. I know they're everywhere. Just separate again. It's just like everything's dividing into two tribes, right? In every aspect. So you've got these voices that are loud because they want attention and stir things up, and you've got people at the same time. Life always provides a balance. So at the same time, we have a lot of people who are quietly going about just making a difference.
Right.
I always find it interesting that good is mostly done one person on one person, right? It's one person at a time. It's done quietly without fanfare. That's how we mostly make a difference in the world. When people are loud and they're marching and they're screaming and they're protesting and they're, I don't know, whatever, that loud thing doesn't really make a difference in my experience. I can't see how it makes a difference.
Well, you can't listen if you're like that.
No, you can't listen. You're missing something if you're shouting all the time and stomping your foot about the injustice of the world. Go to work. If you don't want to go make a difference in that thing, then just let it go. You know,
Well, I do think it's hard though, because I think that there's always right now, seriously, since we've been on lockdown and now we're open, but there's always something else to be afraid of. And so that's where I really was happy to have you on here, because this is the kind of information that'll get you back centered into what matters most.
And you can't progress when you're fearful. You can't buy into the fear and move forward. We have what we call these big thinkers dinners, and we invite people who are just doing things. They're not necessarily like close friends, it could be or not, but they're just people who are out doing things. It's so interesting. We did this all through COVID. So we did this the whole time. We just had these on our roof of our building. And it's so interesting how they don't talk about COVID. They don't talk about masks. They don't talk about any of that because they're busy. They've got ideas and they're talking to each other about their ideas and the things they're building and they're growing. And that's the options that you've got. You can live in fear and worry about it, or you can just get on with it and make your dreams come true. And whatever the fear is, it doesn't mean, I'm not just saying COVID. Fear, you can't have faith and fear in the same moment. fear is going to just trip you up. You're just going to face it and get on with it.
Right, right. I think that what I love about all of this is that it seems to be an aspect of love in what you're doing, because it's self-love, but it's not self-love in a selfish way. It's a way to be a better leader, and that's what this show is about: is giving conscious leaders who are servant leaders for the most part, like you have been with your Fit Mania. Is you were a servant leader where you made sure your customers were happy, but also your employees. I mean, that's a new kind of leadership that if we could model that in government, in every level of our lives, if we could show up as a servant leader, but you have to be aligned.
Yeah, if you do. It's totally true. And I'm very pleased that you said that about the love, because all the love I have in my heart is poured into the book, is poured into my clients, and of course my family and people like that. But everybody does that. But there's not, I don't know if I could have ever said that. I could have said this so firmly other times of my life, but I have no ego in it in the book. That's why I can turn the program over to these mentors and let them go. I don't have any ego in it. I just sincerely, with all my heart, want to make a difference. And I figure if I'm aligned, like you said, the book will go where it needs to go. The program will go where it needs to go. The people who need me to speak at their events will ask. The workshops that need to be done that I can help with, they'll come along. It'll just go where it needs to go. Perfect. As long as I remove my ego from it and make sure that it's through love and a desire to make a difference that I make my decisions.
Well, I think, and you, I love this, and I think that this is the evolution of what we're going through. These huge changes, huge opportunities to pick something that works better for everyone. And the thing that I want to ask you about is this trust. You mentioned faith. Could you talk about trust, because I think that's the wavering side of this reality right now, is trusting that you got this.
Yeah. I guess if I was going to just address the trusting issue, and I just had a conversation again with this client this morning about that a little bit, about trusting, they're in a bit of a turmoil. So just trusting that you go forth and you do the right thing, that it will work out. It's a faith, I guess, is one way, or trust is one way. It's, again, the opposite of fear. You can't be fearful and move forward, but if you just trust that the universe has got your back, which it does, what you think about expands. If you want to look for how you've been mistreated and how you've been untreated unfairly, or how it's wrong, you'll find it. And there is always a risk. I mean, let's be honest. There's a risk. It could all fall apart.
Right.
But that's just part of the mortal experience. It's just another experience to have. It's not. So to go forward boldly and face your fears. And I think I'm not very fearful, but regularly I have to say, come on, Sherry, face the fear of that technology, make sure that it'll work, or whatever. That interview will come off okay.
Technology will do that to you too, because it's like, how come it worked 3 times ago and now it's not working?
Yeah, it worked for Lenny 5 minutes ago. Now I can't make it work. Yeah, so I guess that you can't. The trust and faith are so similar. You can't move forward without it. But mostly in yourself and in the universe, and in the we talked about earlier about the spiritual power that's out there. However you see that, just trust in those forces, and it'll be and do the best you can to be the best you can be, and it'll all work out. It will.
That's
I'm
so
not saying life will be perfect and you won't be troubled, but it'll all work out.
Well, a lot of people had during this lockdown, they kept their business going, and they had their family around more than usual. Yeah. And that was interesting too, to see how people had boundaries or didn't have boundaries. And I'm still working on that myself as well. There's a couple of things: accountability and boundaries for me. But I think again, do you have any recommendation about boundaries or work or being with family? I mean, you work with your husband, or you have worked with your husband? Do you have any suggestions for the audience about that?
For boundaries, are you talking about maybe people making? Okay, I see where you're going with that. Yes, yes, that's that whole life. When on the assessment, there's 8 areas, and the trick there is to make sure when you do your assessment, you do regularly. Watch for that flat tire thing, right? And if you are not meeting all those needs, then something's got to change, and that usually means somebody is sucking up something, or you are allowing somebody to suck up some of your time somewhere else. So that if you can't keep it all balanced, not perfectly balanced, it's never perfect, but if you can't be well-rounded in all those things, you got to make the adjustments, which means a boundary somewhere that's being crossed, probably, because I can't give all my time and energy to my business and still expect to have really good relationships.
Right,
or I can
right.
spend all my time working out, make a good living, right? Whatever. I can't play golf every day and have everything else work out. So we just have to continually to be checking that well-rounded. How are we letting anything slip? And it's a constant writing. You know how they say airplanes, they don't really fly in a straight line. They've got this narrow place they fly in, and they're kind of going like this within this. That's how our lives are, right? We're never really right down the center, but we just got to make sure we don't get off track too far.
Right.
So we're like the airplane, kind of going like this and adjusting and adjusting and adjusting.
That's great. That's great. And the faith that it's all in perfect divine order, that everything is working out for the highest, is a big part of this too, because that's, once you have that as your rudder on your plane, that, right?
I mean, loved what Wayne Dyer said. He said the world is exactly perfect for what its purpose is. It's just, yes, there's a lot of wrong things and things that happen in it, but the world really is perfect for our purposes, which is to work and grow and become better and to learn and to see what influence we can bear on it. So it's perfect for that purpose.
That's so perfect. So, Sherry, is there anything else you'd like to, because we want people to go to your website, which is scrolling down here, and it is also in the information, and it's coming up right here. It's lifemasteryinfo.com. Are there other ways that, and we want people to apply the book?
It's a really nice book. That book turned out really well.
Look how cute he looks on the back. Yeah.
One of the person that interviewed me last week, he said, this book is really beautiful too, really well done. And that's Authors Unite. So I just give them a nod for that. Of course, we have a Facebook page. It's Life Mastery Mentors, and it's on Facebook. So we'd love you to go and like that.
Okay.
The book is available on Amazon. It is available, maybe not this very day, but by the end of today or tomorrow, it's available on our website. And of course, we always like if you can support the author, because as you know, those booksellers take a big chunk out of it.
Right.
So if anytime you can buy a book from the author, please do so. I think you would agree with that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
It is on Amazon. Any way you get it, the audiobook will be out in about a month. The audiobook will be out. I get asked that a lot. So I'm available. You can get hold of me on the website. So
that's great. Okay. Well, I want people to go to the website because there's free tools, and they'll get a lot more information. I mean, Sherry is a mother of 6. She has a gazillion grandkids. She had successful Fitmania business and then turned it into Fitmania Life Mastery, and now it's broken off, written this book, and is sharing her secrets of success with the world so that you can have an easy path to the best part of you, right?
Yeah. It's a book I wish I'd had when I was 25.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and right now, this is actually the perfect time. It would be a perfect gift for Christmas for people, or for birthdays, where people really are ready to take the next step into being their greatest vision of themselves, and getting clear, because this gives you clarity.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yes, of course. Of course. Well, I am so glad that I got to meet you and I got to read your book. Thank you so much. And I
You
hope
do a
I
good
get.
interview, Kathy. You do a really nice job. You do a
Oh,
good
this
interview.
is fun. Well, you can tell. I mean, I really want my people to get the tools that'll help them go to the next level. And they're busy, and they're loving. So the tools that really help guide them, that are the path to success on a holistic level, not just money, because they may already have high competency in that, or they may still want more of that, but it's about a balance, about loving yourself. And this would help anybody do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy.
Yes. Okay. So hopefully I'll get to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, I hope so
Thank you,
too.
Sherry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been
Thank
fun.
you, Sherry. Okay. Again, go to lifemasteryinfo.com, you guys, and check out the book. You'll be glad you did. Bye bye.